Hello everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about the OT levels. This concept that continues on from what we've been talking about with these E-meters, these engrams, these levels that you're trying to go to remove your reactive mind. We are in day 10, discussing deep diving into Scientology and the very core of what goes on. So today I have two things that we're going to be reading from, specifically what an OT is, according to Scientology, according to the Scientology.org website. And then I have another article done by, I think, a scientist who has talked about what these are from a scientific perspective, these various OT levels. So let's get straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know why we're doing this, if this is the first video seeing about this, first of all, welcome. Welcome to the winning team. Second of all, please check out in the Scientology playlist, there's a video at the very beginning which explains all of this. Let's get straight into it. So, what is meant by OT, which according to Scientology, operating Thetan. If you don't know what a Thetan is, just to give you guys the backstory if this is your first time, Thetans are what we are. According to Scientology, us as Thetans are, we came from a planet 75 million years ago where Xenu, a galactic overlord, kicked us out because there was overpopulation and we found ourselves here. We are all Thetans. Thetans are the highest form of spiritual being. And yeah, so that's just what a Thetan is. We are Thetans, according to our spiritual nature is Thetans, of Thetanhood, if you will. So just so you know, in case you didn't know. So operating Thetan, OT, is a spiritual state of being above clear. So this is what we're talking about. This is what Scientology.org tells you. I've just copied it, pasted it, and printed it. By operating, it meant able to act and handle things. And by Thetan, it means the spiritual being that is the basic self. So there you go. So the spiritual being that's the basic self is ability to act and handle things. That's an operating Thetan. An operating Thetan then is one who can handle things without having to use a body or physical means. So we're going deeply spiritual here. Notice again how it all starts off with, oh, we're just trying to help you remove things in your reactive mind, yada, yada, yada. Even the guy that started with me, who did my, if you guys don't know, I did I went to the Scientology thing, did the personality test. So check out the videos because that's going to be fascinating. It started out, he was very much like, this is just all about the mind. It's not a believing, it's a doing, all this stuff that they like to say, all these weird phrases these things that they say. And he's trying to go out of his way to make me think that this isn't like a church thing, like the Scientology church, that's over there. But what we're doing is Dianetics. But it's very spiritual. L. Ron Hubbard himself said that we are doing humans a disservice by treating them purely as just this mud or these animals. That's what he said. He said that himself. So continue. Basically, one is oneself, can handle things and exist without physical support or assistance. It doesn't mean one becomes God. It means one becomes wholly oneself. But the thing is, one is already God because he believes that Thetans are the highest form of spirituality and that we, the Thetans, created the universe. That's what Scientology believes. If you guys don't know where this is coming from, go back in the previous videos. Like any other spiritual level in Scientology, the state of OT is attained by proceeding through a series of gradient steps, each one more slightly advanced than the last and each with its own ability gained. The precise sequence is firmly established and variations from that sequence are unproductive. Thus, it would be fruitless to try to move somebody onto OT levels before he is ready for them. One might as well demand that a baby run before learning to crawl and learning to walk. Similarly, in Scientology, individuals can only receive the benefits of the counseling that brings one to OT after completion of more basic steps. At the level of OT, which again, operating Thetan, Scientologists study the very advanced materials of L. Ron Hubbard's research. According to those who have achieved OT, operating Thetan status, the spiritual benefits obtained surpass description. So again, I'm just wondering what the average folk is hearing and believing when they're introduced to this or they've moved into Scientology. Because in my humble experience as somebody who's a Bible-believing, Holy Spirit-filled follower of Jesus, people, whenever you start talking about spiritual stuff and all this stuff, tend to start looking at you like you've gone crazy. So I'm just, I'm so curious how so many people got so quickly caught up in this. Because this is what they're actually doing. This is what they're actually doing. Inside these cults, yes, we can talk about the fact that it's cults and all this stuff, but this is what they're actually doing. Let's talk about what they're actually doing. Scientology OT levels. There are 8. So now we're moving on to this study that somebody did, right? On studying Scientology from vinair.me. It's very fascinating as I was reading through this, and they've gone through the OT levels. And here's what we've got. So there are 8 OT levels. The levels were researched and developed by Hubbard in the latter part of the 60s. So again, we're talking about things that are very new. One of the things I love about the Bible is how old it is, and how, again, you can see historically that prior to Jesus, all of the Israelites, all the people of God were following the scrolls that were the Old Testament. And then after Jesus, until now, the Bible has been the same, even as far back as the 7th century Christians. There is actual proof, even agreed in belief systems like Islam, that they were following these holy scriptures. Anything that's too recent for me, I'm like, there's a lot of demonic behaviors that went on in the last 100 years. And for me, the 70s is one of the biggest turning points we had down the wrong pathway, because in the 70s, I feel like there's just a lot of things that shifted and a lot of people who took advantage to set some things in place for what's happening now. So I am never really trusting in any type of belief system that is so new for me. Hubbard, in his latter part of the 60s, these levels have been changed around a bit since their inception. I shall therefore be commenting on them in order they were first issued. My focus shall be on what the OT levels are about and what techniques are used to handle it. The whole idea underlining the OT levels is to audit a person, to bring him up to a point that he can be at cause, knowingly and at will over thought, life, matter, energy, space, and time, subjective and objective. When a person is fixated, he is not being caused knowingly and at will. Therefore, the goal of OT levels is to free up a viewpoint from all its fixations. Okay, this is very scientific sounding. Guys, just stick with me. OT level 1, free up a viewpoint from all its fixations. So again, guys, it's kind of like I was saying yesterday, this whole A to B thing, this whole, we've got to get you from a point where you are not being limited and you have clarity and thought, and you're clear, right? Clarity. You're completely clear that you just get to just do whatever you want, because apparently, according to L. Ron Hubbard, that us left on our own as humans, if we're left on our own, we're just automatically going to behave well, according to him. OT level 1. The OT level 1 comprises of closely observing bodies and tightly packed crowds, watching people and noticing various things about them, differentiating oneself from others, etc. The auditing technique is obnosis, observing the obvious. A later version of OT level 1 emphasized looking at upsets problems from the viewpoint of others. Therefore, on OT level 1, though not specified, there is definitely an attempt to broaden the viewpoint of a person so he is less fixated on himself. Observing the obvious leads to the overcoming of fixations and a broadening of the viewpoint. I get where that's going. Further reference the level of OT1. Let's see. Am I skipping pages? No. Further reference the level of OT1, clear, and OT. On OT level 2, one studies the clearing course. Okay. Before we get into this. So I find it fascinating how what we've done, or what L. Ron Hubbard has done here, is he has started off with, when this development is what he did, which is observing others and looking at the world from other people's viewpoint. Now, the way that he has used it, the reason why I'm going to go ahead and say why this is already slightly problematic is, for what purpose are we looking at people's viewpoint? Are we looking, because it hasn't specified, in order to have awareness and empathy, it just says to observe from other people's viewpoint, which, let's go back to L. Ron Hubbard. In his books of observation, his observing led to him, in my opinion, finding a way to manipulate others. Going back also to his so-called past life person, Cecil Rhodes, let's talk about that, Well, Cecil Rhodes observed that he could get involved in diamond mining and all sorts of this, that, and the other in a country that he wasn't even from, etc., etc., which I'm not necessarily villainizing Cecil Rhodes. I just want to say that. I'm just saying, what does this, what do these observations lead to is what I'm saying. Clear and OT. On OT levels 2, one studies the clearing course instruction booklet. At this time of development, the boundary between clear and OT was blurred. A lot of work went into redefining that boundary, and it appears that a clear person... Okay, so this guy is basically explaining the development of these OT levels. This is so helpful. We're going to probably have to do multiple days on this. It appears that a clear person is a person who has cleared all his facsimiles, but not the underlying misconceptions and mispostulates. Okay, these words are going over my freaking head right now. Okay, let's just go and search these. Because if it's going over my head, there's got to be at least somebody else out there who's like, excuse me, ma'am? What did you just say? But this is the nature of scientific work. You know, we always love to have our fancy words and whatnot and what have you. Also, guys, they're probably not even that fancy. I'm just, you know, I'm not. Anyway, let's just get to the point. Sorry, guys, I'm just searching the definizione for similes. But not underlying misconceptions and mispostulates. Okay. For similes. Okay, there we go. An exact copy or reproduction as of a document. An exact copy or counterpart. So, a clear person is someone who has cleared all his exact copies or reproduction as of a document, but not underlying misconceptions and mispostulates. So basically, are we saying every way that you just mimic others in society just cause? Things that you just do the same, I'm assuming, but not the underlying misconceptions and mispostulates. An OT is a person who is now focused on clearing up his misconceptions and mispostulates on the OT levels. The clearing course techniques were very complex and required above average skills. Therefore, the clearing course was replaced when it was recognized that people could go clear on Dianetics. However, these techniques were apparently retained on OT level 2. So now we're at OT level 2. OT level 2 uses the clearing course techniques, using techniques that the person looks at identities which he assumed and acquired their goals. He looks at the identities that oppose those goals. He might have assumed these identities too. I'm going to explain this, guys. Just give me a second. The auditing technique at this level allows a person to look at the conditioning that makes one oppose his own goals. In short, the person is looking at the possibility of being his own enemy. Okay, great. So first of all, we're observing others to see the way that we're just the same as everybody else just cause. In OT level 1, right? OT level 2, we're now looking at ourselves and realizing what are the things that, well, essentially, what is the brainwashing I've had in society? What are the things that I'm just doing because of others that are going against the things that I personally, individually want? So this is something that L. Ron Hubbard talks about, because he did talk about, hey, we've been brainwashed by life, and that's why we as humans are mostly good with evil added. So the evil added comes with the brainwashing that we've experienced. So now it's like, what is the conditioning? Look at the fact that the conditioning is what's me making myself my own enemy by allowing and standing in agreement and walking in partnership with this conditioning that has been placed upon me. That makes sense. Apparently, as in not that I agree with it, but I'm just saying I understand what this guy is saying in this article. Apparently, such conditioning is generated when a person uses unnecessary force to achieve his goals. A person need not use unnecessary force when he is following the laws of nature. The use of force means that the person is ignorant of the laws of nature. Oh, that's interesting. So let's read that again. Apparently, such conditioning is generated when a person uses unnecessary force to achieve his goals. Okay. A person need not use unnecessary force when he is following the laws of nature. The use of force, it means that the person is ignorant of the laws of nature. I kind of can see where there's a truth element in that. As in, I believe that when you align yourself with God who created the universe, then yes, you are going to find that just like how Adam and Eve in the garden, in the garden, life was great. All Adam had to do was tend to the plants, tend to the creatures and everything. Outside of the garden, Adam had to work for the sweat of the brow, right? Living paycheck to paycheck, that kind of concept. Yeah, that is the same thing as what is being said here, but here it's being used in a completely different way, right? Because the laws of the nature was that God intended for us to be inside the garden in the safety and protection of not having to work the way that we do today and live as slaves the way that we do today, but to do these things with ease, right? So I do see that. But Scientology is for sure not the answer. And us just somehow looking at ourselves and having this self-centered image is not going to get us any closer. In fact, it was the selfishness that got us kicked out of the garden in the first place, mate. All right, OT level 2 attempts to clear up numerous permutations and combinations of basic concepts and their significances. It is basically a shotgun method to handle all possible reactions related to basic significances embedded in the psyche. It might find some success, but it takes a long time with the E-meter approach. Okay. Apparently, spotting an E-meter read correctly is very important and critical in this technique. Else you may get trapped in the conditioning. A fall in the E-meter needle indicates a reaction to some fixation. A floating needle on the E-meter dial means freeing of some fixation. On the OT level 2, one goes over a significance again and again until there is no reaction. Floating needles may occur, but they are not given any importance. This is an anomaly. What makes most sense about OT level 2 is the following lesson. Look at the situation from all points of view involved in that situation until it resolves. Don't get fixated on your own personal viewpoint. I find subject clearing without an ear meter much easier and probably more effective in running significances of OT level 2. So again, it's trying to get you to go over essentially whatever it is that's conditioning that you have, or your assumed identities, because you might have assumed identities, which when it says assumed identities, I'm assuming that means things that you think about yourself based on conditioning or based on where you've just your life pretty much, right? Because identity is a huge thing. And I'm in agreement with this, that what you see of your identity, how you see your identity ultimately does affect you and who you are and how you conduct yourself in the world. Do I believe this is the way to go about seeing that? No. So we see in part 1, you're observing others. In part 2, we're looking at yourself and your own conditioning. OT, so now it goes further reference, the OT of level 2. OT level 3, let's go there. This is nuts, guys. This is absolutely nuts. An OT technique was finally introduced at OT level 3. Remembering operating Thetan levels, we're talking operating Thetans. The new datum introduced was that a person is not a single being, but a composite being made of body Thetans, BTs. These BTs are to be audited so that they can become clear and go away to pick up their own bodies. So OT3 technique was finally introduced at OT level 3. The new datum introduced was that a person is not a single being, but a composite being made of body Thetans, BTs. These BTs are to be audited so that they can become clear and go away to pick up their own bodies. So i.e., we're not just one single being. We're body Thetans, all these other Thetans attached to us as a Thetan, and we need to go through the auditing with them in order for them to go and free themselves up and go and find their own bodies, right? They can become clear and go away and pick up their own bodies. So the pre-OT audits, the pre-OT, so the pre-operating Thetan audits these body Thetans one by one through the earliest engrams called incidents 1 and 2 to the state of clear. Some BTs, body Thetans, require grade chart auditing before these engrams can run. Other BTs may be stuck together into clusters and need to be unstuck before they can be audited. So here we're talking about these Thetans attached to you. This is at OT3. This is still the publicly available level of what people are doing. Again, this is crazy. I'm reading through this, guys, as like heavy and just kind of like as it is. This is what the people are believing. This is what's going on in Scientology. This is nuts, right? And what we're talking about here, BTs, body Thetans attached to you that you're auditing, sounds to me a lot like talking to demons. Just to say that. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, OT level 3 became not only too long, but it turned into endless auditing. The subsequent OT levels were developed to handle this problem. The anomaly of OT level 3 is that it fixated on the first dynamic and does not expand the being on higher dynamics. But the underlying effort on this level is to get rid of the fixations that have become part of the viewpoint so that a being can expand on higher dynamics. An example of this would be of getting rid of the first dynamic fixation on eternal life to get back to expanding one's goal to make this world a better place for everyone. The idea of expanding the person on all dynamics is same as the broadening the viewpoint to the no on the no to mystery scale. Okay, this is getting serious, but I'm going to explain this in a second. This requires acquisition of broader knowledge. This knowledge is to be found in societies and cultures around the world and not on the whole track. This is very possible today through internet using the subject clearing process. So essentially, let's just finish on what they're saying about OT3 and then we will come back to this, right? Is that OT3, initially, they wanted to take everybody all the way to dealing with all of these Thetans, but then realized that process is too laborious. So instead of thinking all the way about the universe and forever and eternity, we've dialed it back. What they did was dial it back and say, okay, instead what we're going to do is we're going to just focus on this life here, on making the world a better place for everyone, what we're doing here, which I find fascinating because what we've just learned, guys, I know this is really like wordy, is that number one, this is an ongoing and ever-changing thing. So these guys have been changing. In fact, this same article that I saw, which I will be looking at this, I hope I remember to, had another link at the bottom of this, which I haven't even got to the bottom of this, that said, come and see our updated research on this that came out in August this year, so a couple of months ago. Basically, everything that we're seeing here and everything that they're saying here is pushing to this idea that this is an ever-changing thing. And I have an issue as a whole with any belief system that is currently still changing and adjusting, because what is there to trust in if tomorrow what you've been told can completely turn into a lie? That's why I think that there's an emphasis in the Bible about God being the same yesterday, today, and forever. The word of God being the same yesterday, today, and forever. Everything about God being an eternal thing. So you're not going to wake up and have a complete crisis of faith one day because all of a sudden this scripture was added that has turned your whole life around. Now, what I will say is there are people that adulterate things like the Bible, which the Bible is very clear that you're not to add or remove from the Bible. I mean, I know in China they're rewriting some of the Bible and giving out these new Bibles that have had rewritten things in the Bible, which is nuts. And then you have the flipping World Economic Forum, not World Health Organization. Was it the World Health Organization? Who was it who wrote the new 11 commandments? That's all to do with Mother Earth and all this stuff. Yeah, these people are really some very evil people. My point here is that this ever-changingness as it is already a problem. Second of all, they're saying, oh, this process that you're saying needs to happen. You're saying that in order to be completely clear, you need to remove all these other body Thetans, but it takes too long. So we're not acknowledging the fact that that is still what you're believing. This is still the belief system. We're saying, oh, we're going to still continue with this. We're just going to put that at another level now, which I know that already because he's talked about it. But so you're being missold. You're being told then at OT level 3, because we know OT level 3, operating Thetan level 3 is the public normal one that everybody knows about. And then past that, it's confidential, right? In the Scientology community. So you're thinking, okay, this is going to help. So that's how they've clarified. Let's just, instead of telling people that they need to do all this extra work that's going to take forever, we're just going to dial it back a whole bunch and say, oh, we're just going to stop with making the world a better place. It was to do with eternal things, but now it's just about making the world a better place, which again, for me, just makes this one of the most heinous, evil, demonic types of religions out there, because again, they're just changing it as and how and when to suit what they're trying to do, ultimately just to get more and more people interested, more and more people signing up to Scientology, which for me is a massive issue, because it should not just be about intake. It's about what you're having, the effect you're having on people's lives. And here we're seeing that initially, even at that earlier level of OT level 3, there's 9 levels. They were already saying that this is going to take too long to do all of this auditing all of these Thetans attached to you. So instead, we're just going to say that OT level 3 is just to get you to be able to make the world a better place until we catch you in the other ones to come when there's so much more to have to change and do. Guys, can I just say, I did not expect this when I decided to embark on Scientology, and my goodness, is Scientology just weird, like so freaking weird. So yeah, I don't even know what to say to you guys, but there you go. So that's where we're at OT level 3. We'll probably continue. Maybe tomorrow we'll continue with this. Maybe on another day, maybe I'll talk about something else. Should do a Scientology tomorrow, keep it a bit mixed up because this is kind of heavy scientific knowledge. But I like this breakdown because it's not just telling us about the levels, it's telling us the history of how these things change, because this is what people are this is what you're practically signing up for in Scientology. This is what they're putting you through to make you clear, to help you get clear. It's so weird. Like, I don't know, it's just weird. But then again, guys, it just goes to show you, and this is why this stuff, I'm not even angry, I'm more heartbroken on behalf of the people in genuine need who are signing up for these types of things, or people who genuinely want to, you know, have a faith or something, who are being snatched up by these vultures. You know, and so that's why I will continue to always defend the Bible and continue to always share my faith in Jesus, because, yeah, there's none of that over here on the winning team. There's none of that weird stuff. It's all the Bible. The Bible speaks for itself. It's all there. And the relationship with God is very cool, very calm. It's very public, open, nothing weird, nothing hidden, nothing, no cultiness going on. So yeah, guys, anyways, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe if you're enjoying this. We're going to be continuing with this. I'm going to be talking about the celebrities. I'm going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff about this. Also, I do want to reference Jada and Will in Scientology if anybody knows of any good sources that I should be looking at. I'm building up to come to talk about the celebrities because I want to kind of have a basis for, or even just non-celebrities, anybody who's left. I want to have a basis understanding of what this really is, so that when we address the people, we know where we're coming from. And even if not a lot of people enjoy this section of what we're doing, at least when I'm saying the stuff I'm saying in the future, those of you who've been on my channel for a while know that I do this. I'll make these videos so that when I'm referencing this stuff and I'm not spending 20 minutes every video explaining all of the stuff I'm explaining right now, I could just say, guys, go look back at the playlist, go watch that if you're not sure what the context is of this. And we're just going to keep it pushing, keep it moving. So yeah, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If life's a game, let's play to win. God bless every single one of you. And I'll see you in my next one. Goodbye.